Welcome to Dracula's Transylvania, and I would like to give a very big thank you to Dacre Stoker, who does us the honor again to be with us and present the Dracula details that he was able to research during his restless work during the past 10, 15 years, I would say, right, Dacre?
Yeah, oh, yeah, 15 years of very active research. Prior to that, sort of passive absorption, as we should say, from within the Stoker family, but very active for 15 years. And let me say this: it's a great pleasure to do these tours. We do them at different times of the year. It's very unique that I get to do one of these around Halloween because I am often drawn to the Bram Stoker Festival, a festival that I helped start, stimulate, and actively participate in Ireland. So this is a one-off where I decided to take a break from Dublin and come to Transylvania. So, I've seen some comments. Oh yeah, maybe I'll come with you, Dacre, and join you at Dracula's Castle another time. We don't always go at Halloween, but this is really an iconic trip because I was there for an Airbnb event in 2016, and it was absolutely incredible. The atmosphere in the whole country and all of the expectations that we have about going to the land beyond the forest really come true when you go with a group of like-minded people who want to sort of celebrate the dark side and look at the origins of Bram Stoker's Dracula and also really the history of Vlad the Impaler. So, Gloria, thank you. Why don't we get started? You're the one in control of the slideshow.
Yes, thank you so much once again, Dacre, for doing us the honor to host the tour in Transylvania for Halloween. As you just mentioned, this is let's say it's one in a lifetime opportunity to spend Halloween with Dacre Stoker, great grandnephew of Bram Stoker, at Bran Castle in Transylvania. So yes, we are delving into the colors of Transylvania, so to speak, the fall colors or the autumn colors of Transylvania. And I would say for now, just to have an introduction, a musical and imagery introduction to Transylvania as it is for Halloween. Let's just lay back, listen, look, and relax. We will take the Q&A at the end. And for now, just a bit of music and image for us to get into the mood. And of course, beyond Dracula, Dracula will be our focus, but beyond Dracula, let's also delve into the real, genuine colors of Transylvania.
This is good. Okay,
Right.
so let me try to set the record straight, which we've done one time on social media. Nora put together a good slideshow, but basically, in a nutshell, Bram Stoker never went to Transylvania, Romania. The closest he got was when he buried his father in Italy, spent some time in Munich. So fairly close, but never went to country. So how did he learn about the castles involved in what was a merger, really, of castles to create Castle Dracula and choose a right location for it? First of all, top right-hand corner, this is Cruden Bay, Scotland, and there was a castle called Slains Castle. That's a picture up on the right, an old postcard where he actually visited. And as it turns out, the internal layout of this castle is the actual layout that he used for his fictional Castle Dracula. You can read that in chapter 2, walk in the front door, go through a hall and into an octagonal room. So we know for sure that's what he used for part of his castle because of the very unique layout. And then the picture on the left, there was actually 2 sketches. This was one of them. This castle was called Castle of Tuttersburg at the time. It was in the book by Charles Bonner and another book by Emily Matticelli. round about the Carpathians. These are two books that we know for sure that Bram used for his reference. It was listed in his notes and also was in the London Library. And they were the only two castles, two sketches of the same castle in any of the books Bram used. And when you look at these sketches, and then you read the way Bram describes the exterior, there's no question in my mind this is the castle he used. So no matter how many times people moan and groan and complain, oh, this is not Dracula's castle, it was the sketch that Bram looked at for the exterior description and the one in Scotland for the interior. Now, yes, it's very questionable. Did Vlad the Impaler, the other merged character that we'll get to in a little while, it's questionable how often he actually visited this castle. We don't really know for sure. We can assume that because it's on the border between Wallachia and Transylvania, and that was one of the big things that he did, was increase taxation between the two provinces, that there's a good chance he did stop in there and visit. But he didn't rule from there. We don't think he was imprisoned. He may have been, but we just don't know. The bottom right-hand corner is me holding up a travel copy, let's say, of Dracula. It's a replica at the location where Bram chose to put these two merged castles, and that is in the northeastern portion of the country in the Kalamani National Park. And incidentally, it is an extinct volcano. Now, on this particular trip in Halloween, we won't go there, but on other trips, we have the option as an add-on to go there if the weather's permitting, because it is a non-motorized area. It's a national park. They don't allow vehicles to travel too far in it. We can take a vehicle to a point where they have a gate, no more vehicles, and we would have to hike in about 5 miles in and 5 miles back. So it's a robust trip, and we've done it before, but it all depends on if people feel up to it. So that is, in a nutshell, folks, how Castle Dracula in the novel Dracula came to be. Two merged castles that were real, which gave Bram real things to describe, and a real location. And if you're lucky enough, I'll be able to tell you why he placed the location on an extinct volcano. We'll do that at another time. Now you see me saying literary travel by the book, and obviously we go to visit these sites. And what some of the cool things, we actually read excerpts of the novel Dracula when we're at certain places, showing the familiarity between what Bram has written down and the actual places in Transylvania that he has described. And it's lucky that he did have many people who did go to Transylvania, did extensive research, and was able to provide all kinds of descriptions of people, places, the geography, the clothing, all this other cool stuff, so that Bram could make it feel like the story was totally accurate, as if he had been there. In place, we'll go there ourselves. Yeah. So it's a beautiful castle, and it's all surrounded by wonderful mountains with interesting agriculture that kind of grows up the hillsides. Some of these mountainsides were cleared for orchards and other types of agriculture, but it is a very mountainous area, as you could well imagine. I took a picture from a fall picture. This was Halloween from 2016. And the caption, "Welcome to the Carpathians. I am anxiously expecting you at the Borgo Pass. My carriage will wait and bring you." Well, that's from the novel. This is actually from the couple that actually won the right to stay the night in Dracula's castle. They don't actually, nobody really stays the night there anymore, but we're going to be partying there through a good part of the evening. And if Kay Larkin, the owner of Stoker Wines, has her way, she has purchased a very cool carriage and a really neat piece of art, which is a horse that will be parked, not a moving horse, so it'll have to be moved there, but to able to dispense Stoker wine and be a great photo op, just like this one in front of the castle. And just to show you some of the interior, it's not this, even though it's a huge castle, the interior has small rooms. It was built that way to have a more homey feel, but this is one of the rooms where you see some of the cool armor of people of the time in the 14th, 15th century. This is one of the more warmer rooms because it has great heating. You can see in that little alcove there, the library, the music room. This is normally where we have sort of entertaining going on. One of the larger rooms where we might have a meal, we might have drinks as well. On Halloween, often the organizers of Bran Castle bring in groups of people. This was a dance group, a modern dance group from Barashov nearby, who all dressed up. And of course, somehow they found the ghost of, or Matthew, who's one of the guides that dresses Vlad the Impaler. And I jumped right in the middle there for a cool photo op. But yeah, a number of groups do have private meetings there. We will be having an event that will be partially sponsored by Stoker Wines, which is a wine in Romania, but some of the beautiful and spooky type atmosphere. That's the courtyard off to our left on the screen. And then one of the things that gives me sort of the little creeps is the secret passageway from the first floor up to the third floor. But most people don't get freaked out by that. I get a little bit when it's crowded. We'll also be going to the town where Gloria's sister has lived, Sibiu. This is a scene there on the left. But one of the most important pieces of our visit to Sibiu is touching upon Emily Gerard, the Scottish writer, who lived there, moved there with her husband, who was in the cavalry there. And she was the one that was very interested in Transylvanian superstitions, prior to that, Scottish superstitions, but she brought that with her, and she wrote an essay all about Transylvania superstitions, which introduced the word Nosferatu and also Strigoi. And this is the essay that Bram took almost word for word from, and how to describe vampires and how you actually kill them in this region. The Land Beyond the Forest was the book that was then published with this essay in it, and it was one of those books in the London Library. Corvinus Castle, one of the most picturesque, almost Disneyland-looking castles that we'll be visiting. It does have a connection to Vlad the Impaler, and also Hunyadi, the leader of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, where Joseph, first name Joseph, is it, Gloria? What's his first
It's
name?
John
John
Hunyadi.
Hunyadi, yeah, John Hunyadi. And Vlad had, let's just say they had an interesting, complex relationship. Sometimes they were best friends, sometimes they were enemies. It was all about allegiances switching based on how they were going to kind of play tribute to the Ottoman Empire. But apparently Vlad really was imprisoned here for a while. And this is one of the cool highlights to go and visit. Castle has nothing to do with Bram Stoker or Dracula, but does have something to do with Vlad the Impaler. Here I am standing outside with the manager, who is thrilled to death, Sorin is, of us coming to visit. He has made some very interesting discoveries that he normally takes our tour on, to show us some of the private and interesting findings. You can imagine, folks, over hundreds and hundreds of years, the castle has changed from different leaders who have to fortify and so on. But he has discovered, as they are renovating this place, things hidden behind walls and more walls, which he has showed me in our tours, kind of on like a little secret deal, to show us some of the interesting graffiti on the walls, interesting passageways, and so on. And we'll be showing all that to those who do decide to come on our tour. Yes, and Sighisoara, UNESCO city, fortified city, probably one of my favorite cities in the world, because it is a medieval city. You can kind of see in the middle that was one time completely encircled by a very interesting wall structure with towers that were organized by the different guilds. But on the outskirts, you see a very modern city and then beautiful mountain ranges around it. So you get a little bit of modern day, and it feels like you're walking back to the 14th century in the inside. And then you look deep inside and you see a satellite dish or a washing machine. Very cool place. And they also have some really interesting brand new museums there. We'll be talking about Vlad, because this is where he was born. And that house that he was born in, or at least the footprint of the house, is still there. And we'll go into that house to have a nice meal there. And that's where we'll be celebrating actually Halloween this time. Here's a famous image of Forest of the Impaled, which is where Vlad the Impaler got his nickname. So lots of cool history, living history, let's just say, just to share all together. And look at this. This is one of my favorite shots, walking through Sighisoara in the morning times before tourists are all lining the streets, where you get a really nice connection to the colorful buildings, and just to see how a modern day medieval city just gets along with drainage down the middle and cobblestone streets, not many vehicles luckily allowed there, just those people that live there. I think one of the other cool things is we only have time to see one of the fortified churches in the country, but there are many. I think Gloria can tell you 14, 15, 16 designated, very historic places, and they're very well reproduced. But the story is that this Harmon one, as in others, is the church was obviously a sacred place, but also a very safe place. And because the Ottoman Empire was coming over, as were other armies, and they didn't see a value in killing everybody in this country, but they had a value in stealing their livestock, their food, occasionally their women. But to protect themselves, they fortified the churches with these walls. And you can see the walls going around. This is a full 360 around the church. And these towers where they would store water, grain, other like pork fat, things that would last the length of a siege. And nowadays you can walk back in here and it's been renovated, but not sort of gentrified to the point where it's too perfect. You really get a feel of what life was like back in these fortified churches. Here's Brasov, which is a lovely city, also known as Kronstadt. So you see the red roofs and you see the central town square. Everything emanates from the square, great restaurants, bars, museums, and the big black church off to the left. So we'll be staying in Brasov for at least one night and also enjoying walking around the city. And in Brasov, there is a interesting historical myth, and that Katerina Siegel was the mistress of Vlad the Impaler. And so there are interesting stories that will tell you about that. There's actually a home that she was living in, and that is now turned into a really cool jewelry store, which we go into to check it out. But between Nora and Gloria, they'll tell you much more about this romance between this lovely young Saxon girl and, the rough and ready Vlad the Impaler. And you can't not go to this country and for a day or part of a day get distracted by some of the other interesting sort of vampire locations. And this is the very popular site where they filmed Wednesday Nevermore Academy in Cantacuzino Castle. And let me just tell you something, folks. Not only is this beautiful castle gorgeous, but sitting on the porch with these snow-capped mountains all around you, sipping a glass of wine in their cafe or having a coffee or a sandwich, it is an unbelievable experience. So we're like almost in luxury, but with a Gothic image all around you. Great photo ops as well. Then the myth, the mystery of Snagoff Monastery, one of the places that is attributed to the last resting place of Vlad the Impaler. Nobody has produced any bones. And as a matter of fact, years and years ago, the gravesite was exhumed, and what was found at Snagoff Monastery were some buttons and some animal bones. But the buttons dated back to the time of Vlad the Impaler. So it's very possible that when he was killed in battle, he was brought here and laid to rest. Every now and then, one of the monks will tell you when you kind of get friendly with him, oh, this is not the actual grave site. This is the one where people come to give homage and tribute. But we've got a secret one somewhere in the back, but we don't want to tell you because we don't want people to desecrate the gravesite. So, folks, the myth lives on. We go here because it is what it is, and there's some great photo ops inside the beautiful Orthodox church with the gorgeous painted walls, and it's an opportunity at this grave site, the photo and a candle that burns, to pay homage to Vlad the Impaler. And so here's a bit of a map that shows the locations of where we're going in relation to the whole country. You see, the whole country is made up of these different provinces: Wallachia in the south, Transylvania, and Moldavia. So you can kind of see where we're going. Brasov is sort of smack in the middle, Sighisoara, Sibiu. We're not going to go to Borgo Pass on this particular trip, but other ones we do go on to. But I would say Bucharest. Is that about where the H is in Wallachia?
Exactly, about somewhere a bit more up across the sea.
Okay, so
This is the old version of the Romania map. There was no Romania back in Bram's time when he wrote the novel, or the country Romania didn't look as it looks today. It was partly, Transylvania was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Wallachia and Moldavia were united as Romania, but were still vassal states to the Ottoman Empire. So that's why the map, the vintage map looks like this.
right. And yeah, I think that's my information for you. And I'll leave it up to Gloria to give any other details.
Yes, please take note of this QR code where the itinerary is to be found. And here we have the tour details. So this is an exceptional tour, just as Dacre mentioned in the beginning. It goes 27th of October to November 4th this year, and the price is 1992 euros. So it's quite an iconic, the calculation came up this way when we did the budget for the tour, and the calculation reminded us a bit of the year when Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie, was launched, Francis Ford Coppola's movie. So it was a bit of, it was a bit fun to have this number. That's per person in double occupancy. In case you want to have a single room, the single room supplement is 370 euros. And the deadline for booking the tour is June 15th. And with booking the flight, please wait for our official departure confirmation. And the booking deposit will be non-refundable, but it's only due after tour confirmation. Please email any questions to info@transylvania.se and follow us on social media. Thank you for your attention. And I would say, welcome to Transylvania.